Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today it's another STAMPtember limited edition exclusive with the Greeting Farm It's Spooky. The Greeting Farm brings us the cutest little whimsical images each year, and this year is no exception with this Halloween set with 6 different cute little trick-or-treaters, Halloween characters, and coordinating dies. I'm going to start by building my background for my card, and then we're going to stamp and color the images for this card on some Hammermill cardstock and color them with Olo markers. I'm going to start with this 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel of Hammermill cardstock, and I'm using a couple of background stamps from my stash. These are the Simon Says Stamp Gothic Halloween that we're stamping with some flannel ink first for a very light text background. I absolutely love this. This came out a year or two ago. And then another favorite from a previous release is the spider web background. We're going to stamp this with charcoal ink over that light flannel gray. So a very pale gray and then a little dark gray over that. And this is going to build a wonderful base for us to build on for our card design, pardon me. Once I have these stamped, we are going to take a blending brush and a little bit of the flannel ink, and I am going to ink around the edges of this panel just to soften it a little bit and give us, again, we're just looking for that really good base to add all of our cute Halloween images to. And I always love to kind of soften it a little bit with that added ink. I don't want to pull it in too far, but I don't mind it blurring out the edges and blurring out the text along those edges. Next, we're going to take the silk Onyx from Spellbinders, and I'm going to add just a little of this to the background to add to that spooky feel and flair. I'm addicted to this stuff. I love this black spatter on everything. Let's set that aside to completely dry while we stamp our images for coloring. So I'm going to take another piece of Hammermill cardstock, and you can see here that I have stamped them and one of the spiders. I actually ended up stamping that spider 3 times. That fun, clear, Lazy Susan turntable that I just shared with you is how I store my Olo markers. I get asked about it a lot. There is a box right underneath the title of this video with a link to Target. It's $15. I believe you can pick it up in store or even get it shipped to you. I love it. It holds all of my Olos. Now remember, I do keep my Olos end to end with a connector ring, so I have 2 colors basically per marker. If you have them all individually, you would probably need at least 2 of those turntables to keep them in, but I love this. It works really great. I can just put it on the shelf below. I have a standing height desk, and I stick them down below, and when I color, I just bring it out and spin it around and grab the colors I need. I will be listing down in the description as well as over on my blog. There's a link to my blog down in the description as well, where you can find all of the colors I am using today very easily, broken down by image. So the first little girl here, all of the colors I use for her are going to be together, the witch, the little superhero, and then the werewolf. So all of those are going to be individually, and hopefully breaking it down that way makes it easy if you're wondering exactly which colors of Olo I am using. I'm trying I was trying to be more thoughtful than just jumping around. Sometimes I have a tendency to just kind of squirrel off this direction and that when I'm coloring, and I'm trying to do better about that. I love coloring these images. It's really a treat. STAMPtember is such a treat to be able to play with so many amazing stamp sets from all of these incredible companies. So I really, really love that about STAMPtember. As always with my STAMPtember videos, I know I'm a broken record, but I'm hoping that it encourages you to create. That is the goal of STAMPtember. Yes, it's so fun to get new product. absolutely. But hopefully I am providing inspiration and ideas for things that you maybe already own as well. I'm always trying in my videos, for the most part, to incorporate older product or other product, mix and match product, do mashups, all of that good stuff, just to encourage you to dive into your stash, dive into what you have in your craft room and get to making, because that is where the joy comes in for sure. For the hair, for all of these images, I really feel like I spent the most time on that aspect of each of them. Hair and their like faces. Those are the definite focal points of each image, and you want those to pop for sure. For highlights, when I'm doing a black hair like this, I love using a blue violet for that highlight area. I think it looks really, really nice. So I did cool grays and then I did that nice blue violet highlight. I love the combination of the reds and the peachy reds for the rest of her little costume. And of course, her little horns there are just so funny. I just think she's adorable. Now, I had to really work on this one. I'm not used to coloring green skin, but obviously decided to go with green for our little witch here. I thought, oh, you know, let's try something different, something fun. So I picked a green color combo and I thought, well, let's see if it works. And I ended up loving it. So I hope you guys love it too. Something to keep in mind. I also think this particular color scheme would be cute for things like turtles and frogs if you're coloring a lot of stuff like that, and even a really great leafy green color, especially very pastel-y. I would imagine maybe more for springtime, but I really, really liked it. So I am going to do some purples now for a lot of her costume, and then give her some red hair just for fun. I really had no rhyme or reason to anything that I was doing. I was having fun playtime coloring. I highly recommend that for you guys as well. It is a really good experiment as well as practice for coloring images. And it did force me to get out of my normal comfort zone with a lot of colors. I don't use the violets a lot. I already said I didn't use that green color combination a lot. The red I do. That is one of my go-to reds. But I really did try to kind of push myself. So I'm using these purples. That's not, again, that's not what I generally kind of gravitate towards, but I found that it worked really well here. Add that all in. And it even is really kind of pinkish in the highlight area, but when you get it blended out, it just provides a really nice highlight, and it doesn't necessarily read pink. I'm even going to use that light-ish pink color for the pink on her cheeks. All right, let's see what we're going to color next. Oh, her little cape. Now, I didn't want to go crazy with that, so I'm just going to use some darker shades. I also use them to add in some shading, but we're going to do her cape in those darker violet tones. So we're going to keep it in the same color family, if you will. And I'm barely touching my marker. These images are a little bit smaller, and so for the most part, like on her hat and hair, I would use 3 shades, you know, per color family, but for the most part, I'm using just 2. For the band on her hat, I also want to do that in that darker shade of purple. And a little red for her mouth. I noticed I forgot. And choose some colors for her hair. So it's going to end up, I'm using some orange shades, so this really gives more of that red tone of hair. And I'm going to go around with my darker shade first, then I'll go in with the lighter shade. I did find that I blended it out just a little bit too much, so I will go back then again with the dark shade and add some of that detail back in. For this, I believe I only used these 2 shades in the color family. Instantly, when you add the hair, she comes to life. She was looking a little bit, you know, washed out maybe, but that hair just really makes it so fun. We're going to do some cool grays for her shoes. And we have her broomstick left, as well as the little buckle there on the band of her hat. I'm going to just do some nice neutral oranges here. I say orange because they're the letter O, but they're very much in the brown family. And then we're going to do some yellows for the broom and the buckle. And then we'll move on to our next adorable little image to color. You can also see that this was some of the leftover from yesterday's Pink Fresh Studio card. I do try to use up every little bit of my cardstock. So I had cut out the sentiment for that card from this, and I just held on to it and then went ahead and used this for the greeting farm images. And again, I know I mentioned this a minute ago or at the beginning of the video, I am using the Hammermill 100-pound weight color copy, the smooth color copy for my coloring. This is the recommended paper for glimmering, for foiling on your cardstock. And the reason I mention this is that I hadn't really thought of using it for coloring, and lately, the last several weeks or so, I've been using it a ton, and the results are amazing. So if you glimmer and you also color with alcohol ink markers, give it a try and see what you think. I'm really shocked at how much the little werewolf mask or hat comes to life once you start coloring it in. I also did like his little arms and chest and legs in the same color combo. We're going to do some yellows for the eyes, kind of give it a scary-ish look. With these kind of cute cute images, I don't know that they necessarily look quote-unquote scary. All right, so we're gonna do his face now. And there's only a little bit of his hair peeking out from his werewolf mask. And I'm gonna go, I think, with my darkest brown color and just color those in. Okay, he has shoes and pants and a little vest. So we're going to do some blues, kind of a muted blue. And again, this isn't a color combo. I have used it. I've used all of these, but I don't use it a ton. I usually kind of go more for the turquoise, but I felt like the pants needed to be this blue color. And then I do use them for the same color combo for the superhero. Had a little bit of a hard time figuring out my vest. I decided to go with some yellows for this. I wanted it to be just kind of soft. I didn't want it to be like a bright red or anything. And his little shoes are black. We're going to do a little pink for his cheeks as well. Give him little rosy cheeks. Maybe it's cold out trick-or-treating. And let's move on to our final image here, our little superhero. Definitely kind of the Superman-ish vibes. I say ish because the costume isn't necessarily Superman, but I definitely went with reds and blues. I found that to be easiest. I already had those colors out too, which was nice. You can see that I'm getting quite a lot of markers out here on my desk. So I was just pulling from things I already had out. Now the yellow of his belt, I am adding those plus a little bit darker shade for his hair to give him really blonde hair. Or kind of dirty blonde hair, I guess I should say. Shade all of that in. So cute. And then going in with a really light tone for like all the highlight. And I wasn't super happy with my feathering, so I really over blended it so that I could go back and kind of rework the hair just a little bit. All right. Now we're going to color in, I think, his face. I can't remember what I do next. Nope, we're going to do the blue. I'm surprised I waited to do the face. I think I've talked about this with you guys before, but I like doing the face first generally because it makes the character come to life. But right now he doesn't have much life to him. He looks so flat until you add in that color. I must be looking for a specific color. It happens. All right, now we're going to do the skin tone. So just doing a orangish red, kind of a darker, and then we're going to do our mid-tone, which is what the dark color, I say dark, it's not a very dark color, that I used for the little werewolf boy, and then we'll finish with the lightest color from that other image, just to kind of do that highlight in the center of the face. Alrighty. Kind of finish off his little mouth. Now I'm going to die cut all of my images plus stamp my stamp my sentiment from the It's Spooky Greeting Farm stamp set on black cardstock with clear embossing ink. Heat emboss with white embossing powder, and it also has a coordinating die for it. So we want to get all of our parts and pieces die cut, plus a couple of additional spiders that we can then use to make our card. My goal for this card is to put the sentiment somewhat in the center of that wonderful background that we stamped, add 2 of the trick-or-treat or characters up above and 2 down below, and then scatter those spiders throughout. Okay, I kind of like that. We're going to pop everything up with foam adhesive, starting with our greeting. Then we're going to put foam on the back of all of our It's Spooky images as well. I love the gray palette for the background of this card. It makes the bright colors we use to color in the Greeting Farm images really pop. And here's me looking for my spider. If I could just tell you guys how long it took me to find it, and it was sitting over on my die cut machine the entire time. And at this point I was like, okay, great, I'm gonna just have to stamp it again. And I already knew I probably was going to stamp a couple more in addition, so I figured, oh well, what's stamping a third? But I did find the original spider, but me flinging the foam adhesive sheets around was me looking for a die cut, which happens quite often, sadly enough. All right, I love this. We do want to take a black jelly roll pen and a white jelly roll pen and really make the eyes on these images pop. What I like to do for that is I'm going to take the black jelly roll pen and just kind of fill in the eyes. Instead of trying to go around that little white highlight area, I just fill in the entire thing with the black, and then I let it dry. And you're going to want to let it dry a few minutes. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and do that now let it dry. We're going to stamp those 2 remaining spiders. We're going to die cut those spiders. Then we'll go in with our white and add that highlight back in, as well as add in some little highlights, some little dots on their cheeks, you know, all of that good stuff. Little highlights to the hair, on the nose of the werewolf, brim of the hat, wherever. And that just kind of brings them to life, I think. I tried not to go too heavy with the highlights. On one of the images, I can't remember which one, I got way too much white. So what I did was I let the white dry for a couple minutes. Then I went back and added the black back in. And when the black dried, I kind of fixed the white area. Just don't try to go too soon to add the white over the black, because if the ink is still wet, it does smear. And it was the little werewolf guy, I think, that I messed up his eye. I was so bummed, but we'll fix it. Now I'm adding in my spiders. And I have some little teeny tiny Google eyes that I've had forever from Pretty Pink Posh. I will link to some similar ones here in the description that I think you can find at Simon Says Stamp. If you like to add little Google eyes to your projects, I'm just going to put little dabs of glue, and then I'll use an embellishment wand to pick those up and just pop those in place. I love the character that they add to the card. It really just adds to the whimsical feeling of this. The final thing we're going to do today is take this entire panel, adhere it to a white top fold card base, and that is it, friends. Thank you so much for, oh no, it's not it. I'm so lying. I did add a few of these amazing graphite gems from Spellbinders. They're my favorite for Halloween this year. Just a few, like maybe 5 or 6 of them scattered throughout for a little touch of sparkle. That is it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Halloween themed card using the Simon Says Stamp and Greeting Farm STAMPtember 2024 limited edition exclusive for STAMPtember called It's Spooky. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new video. Thanks for watching!